Yo, who tried to unalive Gary? In season 8, Gary is still alive. Yes, after a close call, Gary is still with us. Now, the only mystery is who made the failed attempt to take Gary out. Join me as I run down the long list of Gary's enemies to uncover who tried to take him out. Welcome to C2, where I review my favorite shows, podcasts, posts, and everything else I see that needs to be talked about. Today, we are going to put on our detective hats and uncover who unalived Gary. Look, Gary has made several enemies throughout Sistas, primarily due to his serial infidelities, controlling and manipulative behavior, vendettas, and shady business. Let's examine the long list of potential suspects. I bet we can solve this thing faster than the FBI agents and Sherlock homegirl, that is Fatima, and Watson, that is Zach. Starting with Andy Barnes. Andy had a long and complicated relationship with Gary. Gary showered Andy with lavish gifts, and she accepted them despite Karen's advice not to. Andy has even accepted a large sum of money from Gary in her bank account when he was being investigated for embezzlement. It's looking like she is an accomplice rather than a victim. Then there is the fact that Gary was blackmailing her into marrying him. And we all know that this time around, she really didn't want to marry him. But like they say in those wedding vows, till death do us part. She was just a little too early. Now, if Gary's unaliving had taken place after the wedding, then she would have a stronger motive. But there is just one thing that stands out. Remember when Gary asked Andy to sign the marriage certificate prior to the wedding? Andy said that she would sign it after the wedding. It was something about the way she said it. It was like she knew that there would not be a wedding. Personally, I don't think Andy could hurt a fly. But could her ex, Jordan? Jordan is definitely a person of interest due to his unresolved feelings for Andy. It is obvious that he is still in love with her and didn't want her to marry Gary. He may have acted out of jealousy and rage. I mean, Gary hurt his sister Penelope, and now he can't see her. Then Gary took his woman and was about to marry her. Jordan had been following Gary around for a while. I mean, that's how he figured out where the private wedding was to be held. Personally, I don't think Jordan has it in him to take anyone out, but maybe he was pushed to the point of no return. Then we have Penelope, who we all thought Gary unalived. But unfortunately, it was the baby. In season 7, she explained to Andy that she had confronted Gary, suspecting him of being involved in the unaliving of his prom date. During that confrontation, he pushed her, which resulted in their baby being unalived. She managed to escape when Gary asked her to retrieve towels to clean up the blood from the incident. But we, the viewers, saw Gary bring in a cleaning crew to clean up the mess. The interesting thing is that Gary told the cleaner, "Clean up this ungrateful." So that would indicate that Penelope was there still lying on the floor when the cleaner arrived. So if she was able to escape, why wasn't Gary trying to find her? It's odd that Gary never seemed concerned about finding Penelope. She would have been a threat since she knew about his past and he attempted to unalive her. It's as if Gary thought Penelope as a threat had been neutralized. I think initially he was going to pin Penelope's unaliving on Andy. However, he found out that Penelope was still alive after having Jordan's place bugged. Anyway, Penelope told Andy in season 7 that she wanted Gary unalived and him to bleed the way she was bleeding. Maybe her way of making sure Gary bleed was to testify against him, or maybe it was to stab him in the heart. I know you are thinking that Penelope was in WITSEC, but she could have snuck out, did her thing, then snuck back in. I know it's a lot, but it's possible. Then there is Fatima, who sees Gary as a threat, especially given his manipulative tactics and the chaos he has brought to her girl Andy's life. Fatima has threatened Gary on several occasions. It's been too many to count. And the last time those two were face to face on camera, he had his security put hands on her. We all know Fatima's family has a criminal background. If they got involved, they could have easily orchestrated his unaliving to protect her, or even as part of some larger vendetta. Then you have Fatima and Zach seen handling a suspicious red bag, which could be linked to the crime. Like Fatima told Zach, "We are going to handle this my way." So it could have been Fatima on first and Zach as her accomplice. Although in season 8, they both admitted that they didn't do the deed. In fact, they have formed this little investigative duo. Zach called Fatima Sherlock Homegirl, so I guess he is Watson. Then we have Hayden, who should be a primary suspect. At least that's what Tamara thinks. I mean, she ain't wrong. He has a strong motive. Gary had been cheating with his woman, which could have pushed him to seek revenge. I mean, Gary was in that man's house in his bed. We all saw Hayden crying in his car like a simp after Tamara broke the news. Hayden got off the phone with Gary after getting the address to the wedding, and he went in on his poor steering wheel. Hayden was big mad. The show picked back up in season 8 with Hayden packing and getting ready to leave town. How suspicious. Did he do it, or is he covering for Tamara? Like he said to Tamara, if they talk to the police, it won't be good for either one of them. Tamara should also be a suspect since she was having an affair with Gary in Hayden's home. Nasty work. Just nasty. After Gary was done with her, he threw her out like the trash. Tamara felt some type of way about how Gary played her to the left. Now, I thought it was just a money grab for her, but she was acting like a jealous ex. I'm sure it had to sting when she found out that Gary was marrying Andy. But in season 8, Tamara has managed to wiggle her way back in with Hayden. And for now, these two seem to have each other's back, but both are not to be trusted, especially Tamara. Something tells me she is around to get evidence on Hayden so she could use it to blackmail him into marrying her. Why? So she can remain a kept woman. Tamara girl, I see you. Then there is Karen, who has animosity towards Gary stemming from his involvement with Andy and his disruptive influence in her life. Let's be honest, she never liked that dude. I mean, can you blame her? But was it enough to try to unalive the dude? Well, he did just show up to her baby shower and ruined it by insulting her and her guests. Let's not rule out anyone. Even though it seems far-fetched, Danny jokingly suggests offing Gary so she could be a suspect as well. Then there is Sabrina, who is riding with her girls. She already caught one case for something she didn't do, and now she's a suspect in Gary's unaliving. Sabrina girl, you need some new friends, but I think we all can agree Sabrina didn't do it. Let's not forget about Gary's longtime enemies like his ex-wife Jasmine Borders. She harbors resentment towards Gary due to their tumultuous history and the impact of their divorce. Jasmine adds another layer of complexity to the investigation. She has previously shown us her crazy when she tried to take out both Gary and Andy. She is definitely capable of unaliving Gary. Jasmine's motivations may stem from the past and present if she has been affected by Gary's recent financial troubles. That might have been the last straw for her. Then there is Marie Willis, who apparently has had some past dealings with Gary. She knows Gary well enough to know he can't be trusted as an early investor in his private equity fund. Now that Marie has become fond of Andy, maybe even a little protective, as she told Andy she would take care of Gary. Like how she said to Andy, don't ask questions. She is wealthy and will remain wealthy thanks to Andy. So she has the resources to make Gary go away for good. Although she's less likely to get her hands dirty directly, her frustration with Gary's manipulation and relationship with Andy could have led her to hire someone to deal with him. Also, what about Gary's dealings with the mob? His latest shady dealings have put him at odds with dangerous individuals, making them potential enemies as well. Apparently, Gary had a background in managing money for criminal organizations, which adds another layer of danger. If Gary mishandled or stole money from the mob, they would have a strong motive to silence him permanently. But typically, the mob would rather get their money, so unaliving Gary wouldn't solve that problem. However, if they thought Gary was a threat to their organization because he was being investigated by the FBI, well, I don't know. What do you think? Don't forget about Robin, who entered the show as a well-to-do legal exec, but after hooking up with Andy Barnes and getting caught up in a love triangle with her and her ex-boyfriend Gary, he disappeared. What happened to Robin? Last time I saw him, he was borrowing money from the mob, thanks to Andy, to keep his stake in the firm. Since Gary was the cause of all his woes, I wouldn't be surprised if Robin tried to have him taken out. Now we have Robin conveniently showing back up in season 8 as Andy's lawyer, and it is clear that he is still in love with Andy. Oh yeah, he has been keeping tabs on her while he was supposedly in London. Stalking much? Last but certainly not least, Gary should be a suspect in his own attempted unaliving. Yes, Gary. He needed a way out of his situations. What better way than to fake unalive himself? It's Gary we are talking about. It's like Gary's partner in crime said Gary loved Andy with all his heart. He was planting the idea that Andy was corrupt. Like he said, everything Gary did was for Andy. So it makes sense that they planned the entire thing to frame Andy. I'm not ruling this theory out just yet. Gary's attempted unaliving in Sistas opens the door for a wide range of suspects, and many more could be considered beyond those that have been questioned so far. Each suspect has a strong motive, and future episodes will likely unravel the truth. I will be here for all of it. So join me all season long each Friday night as I break down every episode on CTube. Before you go, let me know in the comments, who do you think tried to take Gary out? Also, check out my recap of season 7 and season 8 episodes 1 and 2. Thanks for watching.